All right, grace and peace to everyone. We're going to give everyone a few minutes to come in live. I know everybody is on this Friday evening, either making it in your way home or preparing to watch your favorite TV show or break it down with family. But tonight's a very important night, a strategic night, a historical night uh, for our country and for our state and our region. And I'm just humbled to have the opportunity tonight to share with two men that I hold to being just of impeccable integrity and character. Uh, One I've known for a short amount of time and gotten to know and was just quite impressed. Um, I just kept asking. I think I was redundant in my asking about where have you been. Uh, but what he's doing here in our state is I mean, it's never been done before. Uh, he is locking down. I saw this week locking down the support of bipartisan support, which is in the times that we're in is a little different. But tonight we're coming together. I want to give an opportunity to those that are in our region and in our grasp, the opportunity to meet two people that I hold to the most in my heart that I really believe are serious about and can do some great things to bring change, not just simply to our region of Lake County and to our city of East Chicago and Gary and Hammond, but can really be some movers and shakers in the nation. These are two people that we know, we need to know, and I believe are going to do some great things um, in the very near future to bring about the necessary changes that need to take place in our state and do some things that can be life changing for a lot of us. And so I don't want to do a whole lot of talking. I want to give these two gentlemen the opportunity to introduce themselves. One of them is very familiar to our region. He has his hands everywhere, his impact and imprint everywhere, and that is Mr. Frank MrVan, our U.S. Congress, soon to be U.S. Congressman. I know he won't want to hear that until after the election, but those of us that know Frank MrVan, he's one of the most humble men that you could come across. But he is, man, he's just an awesome person, family man, and then someone I just recently met and getting to know, but I just love him to death. I'm gonna do everything I can to help this man in any way I can because he's a family man also. He's a faith man, and he's just down to earth, nuts and bolts, just a good person, and has people at in his heart and people's interest in his heart, and that is our candidate for governor, Dr. Woody Myers. And so I'm going to start uh, right now by giving them an opportunity to introduce themselves, talk about your platform, and talk about what office you're currently running for, because there may be some people on this call and on this live uh, that don't really know and understand government and positions in government and don't really know what your office and the office that you're running for does and how it will directly impact them. And so we're going to start with Dr. Myers. And then once Dr. Myers is done, we're going to go over to Mr. Frank MrVan. Dr. Myers, come on. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much, Pastor. It's good to be here with you this evening, and it is also be good to be with the great Frank MrVan, the next congressman from the great state of Indiana, who has served us in the county government, but now will elevate his role to that of representing the northwest part of our state in the United States Congress. And although there is an election to occur on November 3rd, I'm confident that he will prevail and he will represent Northwest Indiana, the same tradition as Katie Hall, as Pete
Wow.
Visclosky, and others who have held that responsibility. But it's good to be with you this evening. It's been a very busy day for us here at the Myers for Governor campaign. As are all days now. We have 46, I believe, left to go, 45. And we're going to use every single one of them to make sure that our message is delivered as best we can throughout the state. We have been in this campaign now for 14 months and 2 weeks. I announced back in July of 19, and I announced for this office, Pastor, because I was just very concerned about the future of our state. I've been a lifelong Hoosier, 3 generations of my family here in Indiana. I grew up in Indianapolis. Excuse me. I'm a product of the Indianapolis Public Schools. I graduated from Shortridge High School. And then as a young teenager, could not wait to get out of Indiana to see the rest of the nation. I spent time in California in college and on the East Coast in medical school. Came back to California to train in internal medicine, critical care medicine, and did a subspecialty in critical care, and was just living my life as a physician caring for patients in the ICU in San Francisco. When I got the call from my home state governor, who was a Republican, interestingly, and who asked me to come back home and be the health commissioner of my home state back in the 1980s, and I did that. And who knew that would help me to understand the junction between medicine and politics, and the fact that the matter is, Pastor, that people in political office make a lot of decisions that influence the ability of patients to get care. And one of the things I learned very early in my career is that the K through 12 education is connected to jobs, is connected to the economy, is connected to healthcare and healthcare outcomes. It's a continuum, and government plays a role in all of those. And I decided that if we really wanted to make change as quickly as we could, then we needed to influence all of them at the same time. And so that's when later in my career, at this point, I decided that I was going to throw my hat in the ring for this office. And here we are now, 45 days away, and I'm your candidate for governor in Indiana. I'm the only physician running for governor in America today, and the only African American person running for governor in America today. And I'm doing so within my home state. So it's a privilege to be with you tonight, and I'm honored that you have selected me to be a part of your outreach. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome resume. Amazing hearing your life's path. It almost makes me feel as though I haven't done enough.
No, not true. Not true at all, sir.
Frank MrVan, come on.
Well, I'm very humble. Thank you very much, Pastor, especially for your kind words. And I want to reciprocate because I think that one of the qualities that Dr. Meyer had, I appreciate, is his humility. He has been on the front end of the pandemics before this one. He was someone who was engaged and was diagnosing and was fighting and trying to figure out the AIDS epidemic. And some of us may remember with Ryan White, he was the one that stood up against the common norm and the partisan politics and said, this is something you can't catch from a water fountain. This is something that is bloodborne, and he made it perfectly clear at that. Sorry, I'm here.
Okay.
A calming, steady voice during a pandemic. And very often the time rise to what we need as a leader. And right now, what we have is all of our times and our circumstances are coming together so that Dr. Woody Meyer can be our next governor of the great state of Indiana. And so I'm humbled to be on here with you today. And also, I want to commend you on your pick for lieutenant governor. Representative Lawson is a Hammond native. She is a school board member. She broke the glass ceiling. She was the very first Hammond policewoman. She had to take litigation to be able to get that position. And ever since, she's been a scrapper and a fighter, and more importantly, a deliverer of good legislation for Northwest Indiana. And so we're proud to have her on the ticket and are going to do everything we can to do that. So my name is Frank MrVan. I'm currently the North Township trustee, and I'm the Democratic nominee for Congress. First and foremost, as your North Township trustee, if you live in Hammond and Whiting and East Chicago and Highland and Munster, I spent the last 15 years trying to stabilize people's homes. I've spent the last 15 years working with Pastor Kelly Williams and all of his pastors throughout all the alliances to make sure that if people aren't capable of paying for a utility bill or their shelter or their rent or their mortgage, or if they need help with burials or food, we've answered the call. And we also have done everything we possibly can to build those relationships to make sure we stabilize people's homes. We work with labor unions, we were in the schools, we work with educators, and we focus on making sure we made a difference. And so as a member of Congress, what I want to do is go to Washington and first and foremost share qualities that I talked about Dr. Myers. And that is being steady leader, making sure that we're working on, because of the pandemic, we have a health crisis. And in our minority communities, what we have found out is Black and brown people are at a higher risk. And so we have to talk about preventative medicine. We have to be able to talk about the distribution of the vaccines. We have to talk about protections. And we have to talk about making sure that in this new day and age, there's a public option that people can buy into. And I have talked about, if you have not been sacrificed year after year after year in order to have a health coverage plan that you have fought for, then you should be able to keep it. But what we also learned through this whole entire process is how important the Affordable Care Act is. The Indiana plan, the HIP plan, the numbers have increased. They have increased, and because there's a great need for that. And while we have to, as a member of Congress, I have to be able to protect the Affordable Care Plan. We have to be able to protect conditions and make sure that that is not a political chip. And so those things are extremely important, and getting us back to work, making sure that we have a manufacturing base that's important, making sure that the inner core of our district, the Hampton, the Whiting, the East Chicago, Gary, that we are economic development, we are maximizing opportunity zones. We're going to make sure that the double tracking and the extension of the South Shore is something that benefits all the communities. And more importantly, when we bring in business with the development, what this does when we invest almost $500 million of taxpayer dollars that Congressman Biskowski is bringing back to our community, we have to ensure that the laborers and the contractors and those individuals who are building that train, there are access to minority communities for those jobs. I've heard too often that they have been left behind. I've been in too many churches that people are begging for an opportunity to be able to provide for the family, and that's what I intend to do as a member of Congress. We also want to make sure that there is accessible amounts, and not accessible, but we are making it accessible to make sure that there is capital for capital investments and for equity for people who want to buy a business, private equity, access to private equity. So if someone wants to start a business, they know how to do that. And as a member of Congress, my office is going to do that. And so we talk about all of those things. And here's what you need to know. I have committed myself to being a servant. I have answered the bell when our community has faced needs, and I intend to do that and bring like-minded people to a nation, gravitate to like-minded people to be able to solve issues. And we also, on a national level, have to be able to talk about social injustice, racial injustice, and social inequities. I would not be a strong candidate if I did not mention that. We have to be able to find solutions that really gets to systematic racism in our country. I have heard that there's a new civil rights movement going on, and we have to be able to navigate to make sure that the police departments are culturally access to mental health. Something that I've done in the city of East Chicago for almost a year and a half is we developed a plan that we have social workers in the township. We have a master's of social work, and we have interns from IUN. We call it our rapid response team. as the policemen in East Chicago go to people's homes, if it is a domestic violence call, then that case is given to our rapid response team, and we as social workers work with those people who make the complaint so that they have access to domestic violence shelters such as Haven House, St. Jude House, and our case managers and our social workers work with those families to make sure they have protective orders. They work with the schools to make sure we stabilize it. We work with them to make sure they have housing, to be able to find employment, give the wraparound services in order to help. We've done that before it became popular. So I didn't recreate the wheel. I worked with the city or the town of Griffith, who has a social worker for the police department, the town, and the school. And when you're able to eliminate obstacles, and most importantly, when you're able to say to the policeman, you don't have to be a social worker. Hand it off to people who do that as a profession. Let us be able to manage it, and you go. I think that's where we'll make a difference. And we have to be able to make sure that we have a police department that is sensitive to all cultures, and more importantly, that in every time I, as a member of Congress, witness or am around racism, I speak up. I speak up and talk about intolerance, and I speak up and have my voice heard. And if I can do that and I can stand here with an honest heart, then I think that'll start making a difference in our community and in our country. So I'm going to fight for jobs. I'm going to fight for health care. I'm going to fight for mental health. I find that extremely important. I've worked with addiction, worked on violence. And what you want to know is I want to get our community back to work. And I will use every tool possible. So my name's Frank MrVan. I'm honored to be here today. I have been there for and to continue to have that same philosophy as we go forward. But here's what you need to know. There is no magical wand. There is no magical formula. This is about hard work. This is about turning out Democratic voters. I keep fading out. You cannot say, believe, or even allow it a sliver of the thought in your mind that your vote does not count. Everyone is watching, and if you want to elect Governor Myers to be able to represent us as the first African American governor in the state of Indiana, a physician who is pandemic trained to be able to get us through these times, then you've got to get out and vote, and you've got to have a plan. You have to have a plan that you're going to absentee ballot. You're going to fill out your absentee ballot. You're going to get it on time. Your signatures are going to match. You're going to do everything right. You're going to take your friend, your neighbor, your cousin, your niece, your grandmother, and you're going to say, you've got to vote. Every single vote counts because people are going to look in our community and in our state. And so we have to have a plan. And so I'm asking you to be inspired and to join me to understand that this is the time. This is the time that we put division to rest. This is the time that finally Lake County has representation as a lieutenant governor. So we can no longer have to say all our taxpayers goes to Indianapolis. What are we going to get out of the deal? Now we get a lieutenant governor out of the deal. She's in charge of economic development. Economic development. She is in charge of bringing jobs to the state of Indiana. And so we will have no closer ally for Northwest Indiana than Lieutenant Governor Lawson. So I ask you to join me to have a plan and most importantly, be inspired to know that your vote will make a difference.
Exactly. And that's what this night is all about. We are at a tipping point in history. We have an opportunity here, and opportunities don't come a lot. We have an opportunity to have our very first African American governor, as Frank said. We have an opportunity to have someone in Washington that truly and sincerely cares and is going to see that our region is represented well. We have an opportunity in Lieutenant Governor Lawson to have someone that knows a region, has a history, a strong history here and roots here, but it will all be for naught if we stay at home on election day. And that's what today is about. It's about pushing the vote. It's about getting out. It's about making you knowledgeable and understanding what the opportunity is. The opportunity is right here on this screen. You're looking at him. Dr. Woody Myers. This gentleman he just blows my mind. Frank, when I first met him, he came to the barbecue restaurant, and I was expecting an entourage, and I was expecting a suit and tie, and he comes in, plops down in a seat next to me, rolls up his sleeves, and starts eating barbecue and talking about talking points about the things that he's done, and just very down to earth, nuts and bolts guy who I think a lot of, and my heart would not allow me to miss this historical opportunity to help someone do something that it can be groundbreaking here in our state. And so, Dr. Myers, I'm speaking just from a point of those that may be watching us tonight and watching this video later that may not really understand what the office of governor does, uh, may not understand why it's so important that while this opportunity is on the table, what we can get done here in the next couple of weeks to ensure that you are represented well in our region and throughout the state. What do we need? What do we need? Tell us about what the office. Why does the governor's office impact Lake County, impact our region, and why do we need to push to those polls to vote?
Well, Pastor, the governor is the chief executive officer of the state. The governor makes a number of appointments and decisions that affect the state every single day. The safety of the citizens is the number one priority of the governor, and that means that you are responsible for the Indiana State Police. You're responsible for emergency management situations that fall outside of the local jurisdictions, and you're very responsible for the National Guard if they're ever needed. And that when there's any kind of an emergency, like a fire, look at the governors of Washington and Oregon and California and how busy they are today managing that response. And then if there's a flood, look at the governors down in the Gulf region in Florida and in Georgia and in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, and their responsibilities. The governors make a huge number of decisions about how the state government responds. And then the governor is also responsible for making sure that the services that the government provides tax dollars for are executed properly. That's K through 12 education. That's the Department of Environmental Management. That's the Department of Natural Resources that runs the state parks. So all of those are underneath, the governor of the state. And then the governor is responsible for signing any new legislation that gets passed or vetoing that legislation if it's passed by the General Assembly of the state of Indiana. They're co-equal branches of government, but I tell you what, the governor has to have a close working relationship with the General Assembly. Otherwise, the state doesn't work well, and that means that you have to understand how to work across the aisle because there are people of both parties that are in the General Assembly, and you have to make sure that all of their interests are taken into account and that their regional interests. Northwest Indiana officials may want something different than Southeast Indiana officials. And so those are the kinds of things that a governor has to understand and be aware of. And then finally, the governor has a responsibility to represent the state and the federal with the federal government. Now, Frank MrVan's number one job will be to represent his electorate, his citizens, when bills are looked at Congress, and he'll do exactly what's right for Northwest Indiana, exactly what's right for the nation. But the governor advocates for the whole state in the sense that we want to get our fair share of return back from the federal government of Hoosier tax dollars for services that we need here in the state of Indiana. So if we need a new highway or a new bridge, those kinds of things, that's what the governor works to make sure that there's a coordinated action between the congressional delegation, state delegation to benefit the state of Indiana. So that's just a short list of the kinds of things that a governor does. And so you might, your viewers might want to know, well, why do we need to think about getting a new governor? Because we have one now who's running for re-election. And I would submit, a pastor, that if things were working really well, if everything was going the way it should, I wouldn't have run. I would have said, okay. But it's not. Pastor, the educational system in our state is broken. think of the Gary Community Schools just as an example. And I know that there are many cities in Northwest Indiana, many cities in Lake County, but the Gary Community Schools are a good example of things that have not worked well because, in my opinion, state government and local government did not cooperate, did not make sure that all of the problems that could have been prevented were prevented. And as a result, the Gary Community School System is in a disarray right now. Look at what's going on at Gary Roosevelt High. In fact, I'm going to be at Gary Roosevelt High School tomorrow. I believe Frank might be there in Porter County. I'll see him tomorrow up in your neck of the woods as well. There are just so many things that we could do better in your part of the state. That's why I visited so often. We'll keep visiting between now and the close of our election. I just know that we could do a better job in COVID-19. It was my understanding that it was only a couple of weeks ago that Gary got the first site from the state contractor to provide testing. And although the pandemic's been around for 6+ months, it was only when we pointed out that Gary didn't have a site that the contractor got goosed and told to better put a site up in Gary real quick, and they did that. I think because we made it an issue. COVID-19 has devastated nursing homes in our state, including those in Northwest Indiana, including those in Lake County. Over half the deaths have been in nursing homes. I did a grand rounds presentation at Gary Methodist Hospital, South Lake campus, about 3 weeks ago, and the physicians there told me, in no uncertain terms, the devastation that the pandemic had brought to their patient population and what needed to happen from the state that wasn't happening today. And I listened very carefully, and I took good notes. And I just know that when I take that office and when Linda Lawson becomes the lieutenant governor, the attention that Gary Methodist needs, North Campus and South Campus, it will get. So that's what a governor does. The governor, if you had to sum it up in one word, leads. The governor leads the state. The governor has to get a lot of input from a lot of different people and make a lot of decisions based upon the laws of the state of Indiana. You just can't do anything you want. But the governor's major responsibility is to lead and to set a good example. I will add that very quickly behind leadership. And that's what I will do in that job for the state.
And that's why we need everyone to push to the polls and push this vote, because with strong showings, as close as you've narrowed the gap, uh, and as close as you're getting week by week, you're gaining momentum. It could be Gary, it could be Hammond East Chicago, it could be the region
Yes, it could. Yes,
that
it could.
actually pushes you over. But we won't be if we don't hit the polls on election day. So we want to make sure that we really do everything we can to get out there and push for you to get in. Frank, come on, tell us about what is the Congress? What are you going to be doing as the next congressman?
So I am excited about one part of it is there's constituent work. So I've done constituent work for 15 years. People come into our office for needs, and we have filled those needs, and we've worked with social services in order to fill those gaps and be able to help people who are feeling helpless or vulnerable at that time. A member of Congress has constituent work and constituent case managers who help people with their Social Security, help people with their Medicare, help people with the Veterans Affairs, VA for medical care, help people with their passports, help people with citizenship. All of those things are the blocking and tackling or the essentials of what a member of Congress does. Then you go to Washington, D.C. And what I have to be able to do is get our economy started and be able to make sure that we're working. Our district is a district that works. And so we've got to be able to make sure that we're protecting the steel industry, we're protecting labor, we're focusing on education. I'm glad Dr. Myers talked about education in the school city of Gary. A little tidbit that has stuck with me is Gary has 14 charter schools. And so as an administration on a national level, our president has pushed the emphasis of charter schools with the Secretary of Education owning charter schools and trying to privatize or cannibalize our public education system. And so we've got to be able to protect our vulnerable communities on a national level. We're advocating that when we have public dollars and we're investing in the public school system, that we're making sure it goes to public schools. And also when it comes to healthcare, we have found universally that that during the pandemic, when we had an 18 to 19% unemployment rate, health insurance followed people's jobs. And when people lost their jobs, they were without health insurance. And when you're out with health insurance and it's going through a pandemic, that's a crisis. But people have faced those crises every single day prior to this. And so we've got to be able to create a system that people are protected, that they have health insurance, they have the access to healthcare, access to optical, access to dental, and that we're really putting an emphasis during these times on the federally qualified health centers. And more importantly, we're calling out. I'm all for making sure that we're transparent when it comes to our healthcare bills. And Dr. Myers can attest to this. There is a pharmacy benefit managers or the insurance companies that are giving back rebates that we don't ever know about, that a drug is $150 and the company gets a rebate back to the states. But ultimately what we should be doing is being transparent about that. We should be talking and understanding how the economy of the pharmaceutical world works and making sure that our prescriptions are affordable. There's a 340B plan that's under attack currently, which would make drugs that are $3 to $4 to people who are the most vulnerable, who need it most, and they're going to increase it possibly to $150, $160. That's unacceptable in these times. We've got to be able to protect our consumers. We've got to be able to say, I am my brother's keeper. And we've got to be able to have balance when it comes to healthcare and transparency. So as a member of Congress, healthcare, jobs, education, public safety, reinvesting in our economy with an infrastructure bill, and making sure we stand up against injustice. That's what I'm going to do as a member of Congress, and those are my intentions.
All right. We're gonna kind of shift a little bit and talk about something that'll be a little easier for Frank to talk about, but may sound a little selfish on our part. But it was something necessary because of the audience that we're going to have and the groups that are going to be chiming in to look at this video. What specifically, Dr. Myers, if I'm a person from Lake County, from the region, and I'm watching this video and I'm on the fence about the vote, if I'm on the fence about whether I'm going to vote, so many things are going on in the world right now. What are some things that specifically you plan to bring to the constituents of Lake County, Indiana?
Well, I've had numerous conversations with Lake County officials over the past 14 months, specifically with mayors, party leaders, and others. And I just know that the economy of Lake County is very important and is shifting. Back in the old days, the steel industry was the major employer. And although steel is extremely important still to Indiana, in fact, we are still, believe it or not, the number one steel producing state in the United States. The steel industry has changed a great deal. And that means that the factories have been automated and don't require as many human beings to run them as they used to. And that means that the dominance of that industry, especially for a city like Gary, is no longer the case. And so the economy has shifted. And I think it needs to continue to diversify. So one of the things I've got my eyes on, a couple things I've got my eyes on. One is that shoreline. If the casino is ultimately moved and that shoreline becomes more available for development with the cooperation of leaders in Northwest Indiana, I would like to be a partner. I'd like the state of Indiana to be a partner in figuring out those assets that we could create that will make that shoreline extremely attractive for recreation and to make it attractive for those folks who might be over in that state next door, who need a breather from all the chaos and confusion and want to come east for a while. That would be a great thing to do with that shoreline. And in addition to that, I think the Gary Airport is a massive opportunity for Northwest Indiana, not just Gary, but the jobs that could be created if we continue to work on developing that airport. You can't really expand O'Hare anymore or Midway, but Gary Airport, with its longer runway, uh, becomes a great opportunity for different kinds of distribution companies, private aircraft, and others. And who knows, one day Southwest may decide, when the transportation industry recovers in a couple of years, they may decide to put some passengers through Gary. And then the South Shore, as Frank alluded to earlier, the South Shoreline, once it gets finished, you'll be able to get from Lake County to downtown Chicago faster than you will be able to get from O'Hare to downtown Chicago. I'm told you can get there faster now. And that means jobs. That means jobs to build additional housing. That means jobs for people that want to relocate. It gives it's kind of the best opportunity, I think, that we're going to have in the next few years for job creation. Those three opportunities, and I would like to be a partner to the mayors and to the county leaders in order to make those three optimize each of those. Because I know that the citizens of Northwest Indiana deserve that support, and with that support, we can work very hard on some of the problems of unemployment, the problems of the Gary Community Schools that we alluded to earlier, and other issues that have gone unattended for a while. So, I guess in a nutshell, Pastor, those are the things that I think would be of most value that I could help to move forward as governor of the state.
All right. Frank MrVan, what can the region look forward to
Yeah,
you fighting for?
see, yeah, it's challenging to follow an expert. He knows exactly what he's talking about when he's talking about Lake County. So he's
Yeah.
absolutely right. The extension of the South Shore and the double tracking is going to be a game changer. It's going to be transformational for all of Northwest Indiana, from Michigan City all the way to Gary and all the way down to the Dyer area. So I also will be fighting for the steel industry, which is a national security issue. But more importantly, I was endorsed by the United Steelworkers, and I was very proud of that. My grandfather was a steelworker. He came over from Czechoslovakia. He ended up in the harbor, lived on Butternut Street, and worked at Inland Steel for 43 years. And so there's a great deal of pride. And more importantly, I know that there are over 70,000 steelworkers within Northwest Indiana that rely upon, and more than that, other jobs, ancillary contractors rely upon our steel industry. And so I'm going to do everything I can, from protecting us in the global markets from excess demand supply being dumped into our communities or dumped into the nation, and making sure we have trade laws that protects that. And then I'm there to facilitate protecting the steel industry, and being an advocate for that. And we have to, again, talk about education and healthcare. But when it comes to Northwest Indiana, the airport is absolutely a priority. One of the new transcending is the Buffington Harbor, making sure that as a member of Congress, that we have the ability to turn that into intermodal port, and a competitive port in Indiana, and making sure that we work with the state and the governor to make sure that that is in conjunction with the port of Indiana and Portage. But there's enough cargo going through that we'll be able to advance the port and advance Buffington Harbor to bring in cargo. And when we talk about the Gary Airport, what we also have to mention is UPS is bringing air traffic in there right now. And as we could build upon that. We could build upon it. It's coming in from Louisville, and we need to be able to make sure now UPS thinks about bringing in a hub. And when they do that, that brings jobs. I worked at UPS unloading trucks while I went to college in Hammond at 169th from 3 in the morning till 7 in the morning. There are still guys and girls that I see that are at UPS making $60,000, $70,000 plus. But They have worked there for over 25 to 30 years. And UPS is a good paying job for good people. And so we also have to talk about public safety. I've got to be able to deliver dollars so that our law enforcement has the ability to be able to protect our communities. And we also have to be able to talk, and I'm big on this, is making sure that we have access to private and public equity so that individuals can be able to start a business if they choose to. That is something that is part of our American fiber, and I'm going to work on that every single day. And I'm going to put time in making sure we protect children, just like my No More Secrets bill in the state of Indiana on a federal level, making sure that those are the most vulnerable. Indiana ranks high in child molestation cases reported, and I want to make sure on a federal level that we're empowering, educating, and making sure kids understand how predators push boundaries and are educated on how to protect themselves from predators online and then on the phone. And those are going to be my priorities. And also, our senior citizens and our prescription costs and healthcare.
All right. Well, both of you all have been working tooth to nail, burning both ends of the candle. Dr. Myers is doing something that I just believe is incredible, coming as an underdog and really fighting against all the odds. Just you've shown and lit a fire in me. You've shown that the impossible, what seems to be impossible, you're a living testament of that. Your hard work and your dedication to getting your platform out of just meeting everyday average Joes, sitting at tables in barbecue restaurants, shaking hands with people and meeting people. And you have a gauge of what's going on in our state and what our state needs to really take the next step to make Indiana a place that people want to come and live and build their families. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. You guys got a lot of work to do before November 4th?
Third.
November 3rd. So let me just a closing statement from you all. Just a closing statement. I'm going to start with Frank MrVan. Just a closing statement. Whatever is on your heart to share, whatever you may choose.
So in closing, my name's Frank MrVan. I have for 15 years worked with our communities to be able to make sure we stabilize people's homes, to make sure that labor is protected, to make sure that we are working towards an economy where everyone has an opportunity with an inclusive economy and that people are working. I want to make sure that we have an educational system that is providing a top-notch educational system. And then I'm just going to talk to you. I'm not going to give you any points because you hit a trigger with me, Pastor. You said that governor nominee Woody Myers is in the margin of error. He's crawled his way back 46 days out, and you use the term impossible. I came through a primary where more candidates had more money than me. I came through a primary that was 14 people, and the greatest thing that was able to transpire is people believed in me. And I do believe people are believing in Woody Myers and Linda Lawson and understanding that they can make a difference. And so as I mentioned earlier, I need you to join me to be able to, the greatest honor is that I'd be able to bestow and be this nominee and fight for Northwest Indiana with double track the steel industry, making sure we're protecting it and bringing jobs to our area. And when we bring jobs, we bring life. And I intend to do that and be able to put dollars into public safety and be able to bring respect into our communities and social justice and making sure that we respect each other. So ultimately, what I'm asking you to join me to do is make sure you have a plan to vote. Woody Myers is more than deserving, and Linda Lawson to be the leader of our state. And I want to go to Washington, D.C. and be able to provide for the people. The people are the most powerful force in nature. And so please believe that we're going to be able to make a difference. And if you're a Democrat, vote Democrat and come out and make sure that you tell your aunt, your uncle, you can, that this is the most important election. And, I want to tell you that I can't stand division. I've worked in bringing people together and groups together and collaborated my entire career. And our nation is stronger when we're united. And I'm asking you to vote for unity, and let's put division in the rearview mirror. My name's Frank MrVan. I'm a candidate for the 1st District congressional seat, and I humbly and respectfully ask for your vote.
Thank you, Frank. Dr. Myers.
Well, thank you very much, Pastor. It's been great to be with you and Frank this evening. I, too, am very appreciative of this opportunity. First, let me say it's an honor always to see my friend Frank. We haven't talked about it, but I had the privilege of knowing Frank MrVan Jr., his father, when he was a senator for the state of Indiana. So family service is in the family tree. In the MrVan family. He was an incredible senator, and clearly the son is following in many respects the father's footsteps. And is going to be extremely successful, I know, in doing that. And I just am honored to share this platform with him this evening. I know that Indiana can do better, Pastor. We have the 3rd worst maternal mortality rate in the United States. That means mothers dying in childbirth or within the 1st year of childbirth. We have the 7th worst mortality rate for infants in the United States. Our air pollution in Indiana is critical in some areas of our state because we burn so much coal. Instead of renewable energy. We know that wind works to generate power. We know that the sun works to generate power. Those technologies get better and better each and every year, yet we've not made the shift as much as we could have or should have to those renewable forms of non-polluting energy. We know that we can do a better job in creating jobs. We know that we can do a better job in providing education for our children. And I'm running for governor of the state of Indiana to make that happen instead of just talking about that happen. And my opponent has been talking about things in this state for now 4 years, and all of a sudden we're hearing him make pronouncements on racial injustice and having press events about that. We're hearing him talk about the internet being a critical to rural Indiana, and the internet's been critical to rural Indiana for 20 years. And all of a sudden we're supposed to believe that now, as the election gets closer, these issues that could have been solved well before now all of a sudden become priorities. I don't buy it, and I don't think the Hoosier electorate is going to buy it, and that's why I think you see our campaign surging, because they know that our president, our vice president, and our governor are cut from the same cloth, and that the failures that we're seeing in Washington are unfortunately now being repeated here in our state, and we just need a new change, a change. So I am applying to be the new coach for the state of Indiana, Pastor. If a team is in the bottom of the standings for year after year after year, what do? You recruit a new coach. And so I'm applying to be the new coach. I've been in a 14-month job interview throughout our state. We got 46 days or 45 days of this job interview left. And I just know if the voters of this state want us to advance in the standings and want us to achieve like we can and fight that good fight. It's not the kind of fight that you normally think about. I mean, we do want to do better than Illinois. We want to do better than Michigan. We want to do better than Ohio, and gosh knows we want to do better than Kentucky. But we want to do it in the right way. We want to do it in a way that Indiana can be proud of, and that's the kind of fight that I want to bring to our state and to lead our state government forward. There are 30,000 today state employees that want to do the right thing. They just need leadership to help them to do it better.
Yeah.
So I'm fighting to be the next governor of the state of Indiana, and I humbly ask for the votes of my friends up in your neck of the woods, because if you can't attract good voting and votes in Northwest Indiana, especially as a Democrat, you cannot win. So we will continue to invest time and energy and effort in your part of the state, Pastor. And so thank you very much for this opportunity to share the stage with you tonight.
Yeah, I'm humbled and grateful for this opportunity to assist and help um, two men that I think walk in the ultimate of impeccable integrity, um, who are wonderful are wonderful persons, and who I'm just drawn to their heart and their passion. Um, I think that it would almost be a tragedy and a sin tonight if uh, we don't find out how we can help you. No campaign can be run without money. I teach in our church. A vision can be grand and glorious, but it will never leave the ground without people that sow into it. And vision takes money, and you all have a vision. And yours, I'm sure, started before 14 months ago. And Frank, you've been visionary from the moment I met you. And the thing I know about both of you all is, with all of your accomplishments, uh, you have worked very hard to make those visions come to pass. But we have an opportunity to help you uh, turn the corner, get over the fence. And so, briefly, before we get off of this call, can you quickly tell us, and I'm going to have our people put on the screen, how we can help your campaign? How can we donate to your campaign? How can we help you uh, in any way? We'll start with you, Frank.
You can go to our website, which is www.MrVanforcongress.com. You can volunteer, and you can also donate at that location. You can go to our Facebook page, which is MrVan for Congress, and you could donate, and you could absolutely volunteer. And when we talk about volunteering, there's not a lot of door-to-door, but you can make phone calls. You can drop literature. You can text. You can email your family and friends. You can do what you can to spread the word that we are candidates and that we're working for you, and be inspired to be able to do so. So MrVan for Congress, www.MrVanforcongress.com to volunteer, and also MrVan for Congress at Facebook.com.
And having said that, let me ask everyone that's watching this to please share this, start a watch party. Let's get this information out. The worst thing that we could do is have an opportunity and a tool and don't know we have it. The worst thing that we have is an opportunity for change and do nothing with it. And so I want you to share this with your family, your friends, uh, message it, message it to all of your constituents and people in contacts, so that they can have an opportunity to meet uh, this congressman and get to know what kind of person it is that they'll be voting for, and meet our governor, soon to be governor, and actually see what his platform is and what he plans to bring specifically here to our region and not just the entire state. So, Dr. Myers, how can we help you? How can we help you?
Well, the same thing goes for our campaign that Frank just suggested as well. We have a great website that's www.drwoodymyers.com. But now with Google, you can just go in and put in Dr. Woody Myers, and our website, our YouTube, will come up. We have a number of videos that folks can take a look at. You can donate through the website. And then you can go on our social media platform at Dr. Woody Myers. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we are on YouTube, and all of them have groups that seem to come and want to help us out and encourage folks, educators for Woody, teachers for Woody. It's great to now have folks from around the state that want us to do well, want us to succeed, and I would encourage everybody in your group, Pastor, and in your part of the state to just take a look and join us there as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And remember, every little bit counts. That no dollar amount is too small. My mother always taught me something, and that was anything somebody gives you is more than what you had before they gave it to you. And so if you give a dollar, it's a dollar more than they had before you gave it. And so don't let what you have to give hold you back from giving it. I'm making a personal pledge tonight to each of your campaigns of $50. And I just thank each of you all for this
Thank you.
opportunity to share with our region and those that I know and love. Just want to inform them of who is out here and let them know that when they walk into that voting booth, they don't have to say, I don't know who he is. You have an opportunity now to have met two of these candidates who will bring a profound impact, I believe, to this region. Again, thank both of you all for your time on this evening, and thank you to all of you all that are watching. We're going to be coming back possibly here soon and doing some things here in the region, just to have an opportunity for you to meet and greet each of these candidates. But know that I am supporting both of them in both of their runs. But they are, and it is only because I know what kind of character these men walk in. And so again, to everyone, we just bid you farewell and say unto you good night. And I'll leave you with the words I always leave you with in our time together. That is, go in peace and go with God is always my prayer. Grace and peace be multiplied unto you until we meet again. If you guys can just hold on 1 second, they're going to close us out.